Hello everybody, welcome back. This is not for beginners, but you should try it anyway. This is the title of today's video. Hopefully it's kind of catchy, but the truth behind it is that this is an advanced concept and it can be taken very, very far. But it can also be scaled down and dialed back to fit whatever level you're at the moment. So even if you only know a C major scale, you can apply this, and if you know all kinds of crazy modes in different keys, you can do that there too. So it's completely scalable and it will work great for beginners to seasoned and advanced guitar players. Also, you'll be able to apply this to any scale system you might be using. Some of you might be using the cage system, some others might be using 3 notes per string. Whatever you're using, you can apply this. Just make sure you know your basic positions and your basic scales. For the purpose of today's video, to keep things simple, I'm gonna do it in the key of C major and I'm gonna use the cage system. But again, feel free to take it as far as you want. Here's the main premise. When we practice scales, we're used to sticking to the pattern. And a lot of us actually start on the lower string, go to the higher string, and then back. Something like this. If you were in the cage system, you might play like this. To the highest note, to the lowest, and then move up. And do the next. If you're playing 3 notes per strings, you might be doing this, but still you're going in a very predictable way. And there are ways to break out of it. You know, you can do sequences, you can harmonize, you can do it in intervals. But today's idea, I think, it's a little more fun. And what I like you to do is have 2 groups of numbers, and you can do this in your head, on a piece of paper. You can do it maybe in a little script on your computer. I don't mind, as long as you have a bigger group that goes from about 1 to, let's say, 17 or 18, depending on your guitar, depending how many frets you have. And you'll see why in a second. And the other group will be in today's video from 1 to 7. You might have guessed this major scale, and the C major scale in this case has 7 notes, and that would be why we have 7 notes. If you were working on pentatonics, you might have only 5 numbers, but for today's purposes, let's go 1 to 17, and the other group would be 1 to 7. And you might have guessed how this works, but here it is. We're going to take a random number from the first group, and let's say we pick 7. That would be a good number. And then on the second group, maybe we'll find 5. So here's what I'm going to do. On the 7th fret, or around the 7th fret, I have to find a position of C major. You can have the 7 towards the end of the position or in the beginning, or maybe just have it somewhere that's included. I like to do it that way. I like to include the fret that I pull out. So in this case, I'll look for something around this area that includes the 7th fret. And then the 5 from the second group means that I have to start the position on the 5th note of the scale. In the key of C major, the 5th is G. And this position here doesn't start on a G, so now I have to think ahead of the position, get to the first G I can find, and play the position to the highest note. Then, of course, I work my way back. And I have the whole position. But you see, now I'm not doing it just by repeating mindlessly with my fingers. I have to think of what I'm doing. Let's do another example really quick. Let's do maybe 11 and 3. So around the 11th fret, where can I find that it's in C major? And I have to start on the 3rd note, E. And here it is. And that would be the position. Now, of course, in any position, there's going to be more than one E. And so that's another great variation for this exercise, is to start on every single E from lowest to highest. So you can go like this. The first one, this is the one we just played. Now I have to start from the next E up, which is this one. And now from the highest. Only 2 notes, but then I work my way back. You see, so now I'm really working that position. I might even stick to this position if I'm having trouble and go through a few more notes from the second group of numbers. So let's stay here, but now let's start from B, right? From the 7th. Now the 7th, do we know where it is? Here's 1. And then I can work my way back, but also there's another one here. As you can see, this is not too hard, but what about if we were playing in a different scale? Now, instead of C major, what if it's C minor? Now we have a little problem, because first of all, a lot of people know major scales better than they do minor, and then we can take this even further, of course, with the modes and other exotic scales, so it can get really hard really quick. But also, we have to understand now that every scale has a set number of flats and sharps, and we have to know what they are. Otherwise, this exercise is impossible. So for example, if I were in C minor instead of C major, and I pick my 6 out of my second group, and I'm still here on the 11th fret more or less. Now I have to understand that the sixth number, the sixth of C major, is an A flat. I must know it. I have to understand that C minor is made up of 3 flats, E, A, and B, in that order in the scale, and now I have to understand that I have to start from an A flat and still find the right position from the A flat. Now, if I know where the other A flat is, I can do the same thing from here and then work my way back. Sorry about that. But you see what I mean? It's pretty complex. Let's do one more for the more advanced out there. Let's change scales. Let's go with the A Lydian maybe. It's a bit more complex and complicated, not too out there, but still quite advanced. So A Lydian, and let's pick the 9th fret, and let's stick to the 6th, and the 6th of the scale. Now I have to understand what A Lydian is, how many sharps it has. In this case, it's 4. And I have to also understand that the 6th of A Lydian is F sharp, not F natural, and I have to know where it is on the fretboard. So it all gets more and more complicated. And in this case, we're on the 9th fret, and lucky for us, right on the 9th fret of the 5th string is an F sharp. So I have to be able from here to build you can hear it's the right scale, but I had to pick it up from here, and this can be quite jarring in the beginning. Also, there's another F sharp down here. Can I do it from there? Well, it's up to you. So my advice here is that you start from scales you know very well and then work your way towards more complicated ones, because on the guitar it's very easy for us to get kind of comfortable with the fact that once we learn a scale, let's say in C major down here, and we understand that it has no sharps and no flats, but then we can just move it around as long as we know where the roots are, and we're all set, especially in the cage system, which is one of the problems with that system, is that as long as you know the root, you're good. Well, you're only good as long as you don't want to write chord progressions in that scale. For example, you don't want to do something like this, you don't want to understand the relationship between every degree to every chord underneath. Then for that, you will need to understand exactly how the scale is built and why it sounds that way, because it's made up of all these different degrees. That's beyond the scope of today's video though. So this is it for the exercise. Pick any scale you want, randomly select a fret, randomly select a degree of that scale, figure out what the corresponding note to that degree is, and start your scales from there. Then if you want to take it a little bit further, go through all the roots, usually it's 2 or 3, and do the same thing on different strings. Now, of course, you can take this as far as you want to. I'd love to hear in the comments below what you're planning to use it with. And as always, I do my best in these videos to give you accurate and useful information. So if you want to invest a little bit of time on this, it will be certainly worth your while. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please, as always, like, subscribe, maybe share this with friends. It really helps out a lot. And I look forward to seeing you very soon. Don't forget to check out my Patreon, link below. See ya.